I'm gonna call it a bike
Alright.
path.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright. Almost said good morning, but it's not, clearly. 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Michael Cashman.
Present.
Thomas Wood.
Also here.
Barbara Hebert.
Here.
Charles Costick.
Here.
Dana Isabella.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
And Catherine Calucci is present as well.
Is there anything for public comment this evening? Seeing no one will advance forward. Nothing really to share too directly, other than one just little side note that I thought was maybe somewhat of interest. The Governor Hochul, responded to a question as it related to some housing stuff during the Q&A section during one of her press conferences earlier this week. And, you know, she was kind of through illustration of talking about from Long Island to Buffalo to Plattsburgh, we called Plattsburgh out directly. And I just put out a remark that, you know, said that I welcome Governor Hochul's remark today here in the town of Plattsburgh, that we are ready and willing to partner with New York State and private investors to advance a broad spectrum of much-needed housing options. The town's smart growth plan provides a framework for this development to occur. Communities like ours have a responsibility to work on developing the missing middle housing, those homes where our workforce lives and our community grows. We have a strong record with homes and community renewal with such developments as Atlas Heights and Northwoods Estates, and I'm hopeful for new opportunities to partner. I bring that up because as Northwoods is actively moving along, we've seen really a lot of good success over the last couple of years. And during COVID, I would dare say it certainly isn't bringing a new topic into focus, but it's getting a lot of additional attention is the need for housing. And there's other, you know, critical areas like daycare and et cetera. But I think that the town of Plattsburgh will continue to see some really good investments in the future. I know the folks that are working on the Northwood property have already expressed that they're hopeful to see that expand in the future. So, and it's, you know, nice even if it's in, you know, just a short statement to demonstrate around the state. She could have picked Messina, she could have picked some other, could have picked Watertown, but in that moment, Plattsburgh was present in her head enough to say, and we continue to punch above our weight. So, for tonight, for some consideration for draft resolutions that we'll act on for next week, there are your minutes, monthly reports, Saranac Power Partners 1-year extension. Jim, can you just touch on that
Sure.
item?
Yep. The extension agreement runs out at the end of this year, and in essence what they would like to do is make the agreement we have with Saranac Power Partners, which provides us with so much money, to match up with the, say, big agreement with the county. And so the county agreement is set to expire not at the end of this year, but next year. So this brings our agreement up to next year. And also the assessment stays the same. And this will give us a year to hopefully negotiate one way or the other. I spoke to the fellow who runs, I can't think of his name, John. Do you have anybody have him now? Who the power plant guy?
Is John Gopi?
It is John Gopi. Very nice guy, very prompt. I wanted a copy of the county agreement. He sent that over to me just like in 10 minutes. Called him up, we discussed everything, and we're in good shape. And this is a very good thing for the town. I've forgotten the numbers, maybe $142,000, $182,000 or something like that. But after this, we'll have to negotiate it. I asked him if it's running at all. He said it was not running at all, except they're doing steam for the mill, and I believe this is as a backup if something goes down, the backup. So it's still a critical item, and we'll have to talk about that next year to get a number. So.
Jim, just given, you know, the ongoing confusion of Saranac Park over the many umpteenth years, and, you know, in good faith and conversation, can you reach out, would you mind, to the city and the school district, just as, you know, again, transparency, this is what it is, because I don't want to get into one of those things where someone goes, well, how come, you know, you're doing a one-year extension and details, because I think some people, you know, over previous years, misunderstood the details of stuff, and
Okay.
it was quite costly.
No doubt.
I will.
No, I'll send them a copy. of the
Yeah, I mean,
contract.
again, I know where this is coming from, but again, just, I think it's easier to share this information, than to have to respond to, information that is misunderstood,
Yeah,
basically.
I'll send that, and I'll also extend a copy of his letter, which explains how we're trying to match it up,
Yep.
and this will be the end of it then next year.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Jim, in your discussion with John Gilkey, any sense of how many employees are at their facility?
I don't think there are many.
Okay, just
No.
trying to say about that.
Does it still have the potential to?
I think it does, I guess, and I don't know an awful lot about it. Apparently, the power market shifted very dramatically. You can buy it other places quite cheap, and this maybe isn't, it isn't as critical as it has been in the past, unfortunately.
Thank you. This is a resolution, and we can pick it up this evening if you would like. I just want to give you some more context behind it, and I also thank Jim for kind of pulling some details together. Was a tax exemption renewal requirement in 2022, and I just want to, I didn't have a chance to print it, so I do apologize for going to my phone. Did want an opportunity to read you something from Brian, our assessor. I can find it here. I looked back to him to make sure that that he was in similar way of thinking. My thoughts would run along your lines. Is that that we as a town are cognizant of the time of year, winter, the resurgence in the number of cases of COVID in our county over the last couple of weeks has increased, and the odds of contracting the virus. That as a public building, we have little control over the public does, and entering the building, vaccine information that is, and that we are not interested in jeopardizing those populations that may have very well underlying conditions which could provide detrimental to the population if they contracted the COVID virus. And that this is the best way for the town board to continue being responsible to our citizens and health and safety. So we can certainly take this up next week, but this is also something, I had shared it in draft with you last week, just as kind of a precursor in case the board did want to take it up tonight, and that Brian can begin to just kind of put it into motion. Straw poll, is there any objection to having it read and considered for a vote tonight? Okay,
It's not gonna
so,
change any of the stuff we've been doing.
not drastically, no. So, tax exemption renewal requirement in 2022.
This doesn't have a number quite yet.
No, but it'll be assigned to last, yep.
Okay. Whereas senior citizens with limited income and persons with disabilities are entitled to tax exemptions in 2022 on the real property which they own in the town of Plattsburgh. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has dramatically impacted both senior citizens and persons with disabilities, and whereas Governor Hochul has issued Executive Order Number 11.1, which makes it possible for senior citizens and persons with disabilities to have their 2022 property tax exemptions renewed without filing renewal applications. And whereas the option granted under the executive order rests solely with the assessing unit for the town of Plattsburgh, providing the governing body of an assessing unit adopts a resolution pursuant to this executive order, eliminating the renewal requirement for these two exemptions on the 2022 assessment roll. And whereas the resolution will eliminate the renewal requirement for senior citizens and persons with disabilities for all jurisdictions that levy taxes on the 2022 assessment roll of the assessing unit. And whereas the town board of the town of Plattsburgh is in consideration of the difficulties that are often exist for senior citizens and persons with disabilities during this pandemic, wish to assist the property tax exemptions to which they are entitled in the most convenient manner possible. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing body of the town of Plattsburgh shall exercise the option granted under the aforementioned executive order, eliminating a renewal requirement for senior citizens and persons with disabilities on the 2022 assessment roll. The resolution shall eliminate the renewal requirement for all purposes of all jurisdictions, including county, town, and school district purposes, that levy taxes on the 2022 assessment roll of the town's assessing unit.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Costick, is there a second?
Seconded.
Hebert, is there any discussion? I think it captures the essence of it. Again, you know, we've worked really hard for public health and safety, and, you know, this is an option provided. So, at this time, can I get a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Barbara Hebert,
Yes.
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Dana Isabella,
Yes.
and Michael Cashman.
Yes, this resolution carries. Thank you for, consideration of that this evening. The last material is all draft here. It's Cumberland 12 Cinnamon License Renewal, promotion of Aaron Pangborn as the Youth Services and Recreation Director. I would acknowledge that this is connected to the notification of Mel Defiant and her retirement and the ongoing transitional plans. Spoke with Erin earlier this week. I think Erin's going to be wonderful in this leadership role. So the resolution right now is still in draft because we're waiting upon some more materials from the Clinton County Civil Service or personnel. So you'll see that more filled out by next week when it's up for full ratification. So, and then finally is the annual examination of town fiscal records by the Auditing Committee. At this time, is there anybody seeking to provide any information related to any committee reports?
I have a few things.
Sure.
So, as an extension of the resolution that we just carried, it's important to understand when I had a year-end meeting with Brian Dowling, one of the things that the assessment department does very well is that they are being proactive even with these exemptions. They actually start early in the year. He kind of gave me sort of a calendar description where they actually try to get things out to our seniors ahead of time. So in addition to this, recognizing this as important, they are also doing some of the proactive things that even make this even a better process. So, town clerk, I guess we'll be getting an update because this is January, so the shared services in terms of dog control duties and officers with Ms. Pilucci, I think we're waiting for something by the end of the month. Katie, can you give us a little?
Yeah, we're waiting for a couple of things. One, we're still waiting for his, he has been sick, but is doing well from the last time I spoke with him, but I am still waiting for his report from December. As soon as I get that, we can move forward too, and then I was hoping to extend that into January. So I still need to work with him on that, and hopefully I'll hear from him soon. Secondly, I did reach out to Mayor Rosenquist and just ask how, because we have a proposal to the city on the shared services for our DCO for moving forward. And so far, the committee, his report was that the committee is looking at it favorably, and it needs some tweaking, which we already knew. So that's all good news. But as far as how, you know, where it is, he said Monday night they're going to be hashing it over more at their committee meeting. So I'm hoping to have a better idea by the end of next week whether or not we have to get a replacement for ourselves or we will be able to share services moving forward.
Great.
All right, that's good.
All right.
Tom, anything else?
Anybody else? Once, going twice. All right, folks, that's all I have. I know we're going to go into an executive session this evening. So we will adjourn tonight's meeting at 6:14.